So as we continue along here, we're going to be approaching Tuckahoe Road, which is it's a pretty busy road here in Westchester, in Yonkers. Coming up along the right side, we've got a small shopping area with Dunkin' Donuts and Domino's Pizza. There's some neighboring gas stations that tend to get robbed quite oftenly. But as you can see, with the fence and all, it's not exactly friendly toward cyclists coming down to visit the shops. Well, there's really no trail down, and there's no signs back here advertising that there's a Dunkin' Donuts or pizzeria here or anything. You just see a liquor store. That's about it. So, and those businesses were here long before this trail came in. And this is actually a new section down here. The trail originally stopped above Tuckahoe Road, which is at the other side of this overpass. And it stopped there for a couple of years, and this section here, from here back down to Van Cortlandt Park, was recently added in the past couple of years. And as you can see, this was probably, when the trains were here, this was probably a grade crossing. And this underpass was kind of carved out and added later on when the overpass went in. Up here we have now, with the marker for the, let's see, I don't even know what station this is. Can we find it? Nepperhan Station. So you can see from all the graffiti on it, it's kind of hard to read these days. Coming up here with a warehouse or factory or whatever it was at one time. Got 3 large freight bays alongside the building that served freight traffic when the railroad was open. So you can see those a little bit. There's one there. There's another one that's kind of covered up. Another warehouse or something right here, and as you can see, this is another door here for freight when the trains were running. You say all that freight now has to be trucked, which puts more vehicles on the road and more emissions. And less demand for high quantities of freight because it's tougher to get it out now rather than putting it on the trains and sending it out. Through here last time, there were some people out here with their pit bull on a chain, and it was jumping out at every biker and pedestrian that went by. So down here in Westchester, kind of used to pit bulls and things like that, but I don't know how the people of Ulster County would be. Grandma and Grandpa probably would have a heart attack if they walked through Kingston and someone's dog jumped out at them. So coming up on overpass here. At one time, just ahead of where we're going, I can't see the exact spot anymore, it's overgrown, but there was a spur that came off of here and headed southwest, and wasn't very long, maybe a quarter mile, half mile, and its purpose was to serve some of the there's some factories down there and make carpeting and other things, tile, and that was the freight pickup for those factories. Again, that's another business, but now if they're still there, things got to be trucked out. They can't be shipped out cross country by rail anymore. Come here, we're now approaching the, let's see, we're now at the Gray Oak station, but again you can see, you can't hardly read the sign because, again, more graffiti all over it. And we have a little bit of a little trail here heading up to 9A. Honestly, I have no desire to really walk down there if I was a pedestrian. It's not exactly inviting. We'll go down it anyway. This was put in recently, but again, there's really not a whole lot down here. Graffiti on the side, on the walkway. Now, as I come up here, as you look around, there's really nothing here. There's no delis or anything. You got a diner up there, but that was, again, that wasn't put in because of the trail. That was here before. God, I don't know what that is, a bowling alley. But again, nothing here very inviting to someone on the trail that they'd want to stop and do business here. So we're going to get back on the trail as quick as we can. So we're heading back north now on the South County Trail. I'm going to turn around here real quick as soon as we get into the shade. So this is the current underpass for the South County Trail, which had been the railroad. Over here, where the Sawmill Parkway passes under it, that was the original height of the underpass, which was sufficient for cars, work trucks, and for trains. This section here, up until a couple of years ago, looked the same way, but the county came in, filled all this in, I guess as an attempt to make sure no trains could ever come through here again. And I believe on the other side there had been a staircase going up to the roadway, which is now gone. Now it's probably replaced by that walkway. So turn around and we'll keep going. We have some more businesses here on the right, warehouses and things like that. You can see from the side of the loading dock that, again, this once would have handled freight traffic from the train. And we got a whole lot of low-lying trees here. Did I miss that? I'm just going to take a quick run back for a second. So I want to check something out. I think I missed it there. I want to show you. That wasn't near those by the yellow truck, but it's going to be further up, so when we get there I'll show you. No problem with these trails. So right now we're passing Executive Boulevard in Yonkers. You see the low-lying trees here, and this is all over this trail. If you're not paying attention, when they get camouflaged by the trees behind, you're coming through on the bike again, whacked in the face. Okay, here we are. Here's the spot I want to show you. Back when we were back in Van Cortlandt Park, I mentioned that this trail was notorious for poison ivy and poison oak, things like that. Well, right here along the trail, there's a whole mess of poison ivy going right up that tree, coming over, kind of overhanging a little bit. So once that starts growing up some more, somebody comes through there, the kids are step off the trail a little bit. The rest of their day is going to be ruined, and the next 2 weeks as well. If they get that covered, they get their face covered with that. And it's not just that spot, it's all along the trail. But that just happened to be a really good spot for pointing it out. So most of this trail is pretty much, I measured, about 10 feet wide, which is more than enough room for two-way traffic. This is Westchester, and you can see what kind of traffic we get down here. It's not a whole lot. Even on weekends, it's not much busier than this. So this is 10 feet wide. That's more than enough. I wouldn't go any lower, but there's really no reason to be widening this to 14 feet. It's another 2 feet on each side, which doesn't seem like much when you look at it, but it just that adds up for amount of pavement. That really adds up. That's almost, well, it's a 40% increase in your bill. So we're coming up here now on what was another station. This had been the Nepper Park station. Up here we got a little business here, restaurant. Probably opened about the time that the trail opened. We got a sign here, cyclists welcome, but that doesn't do you much good if the restaurant's not open today. So I guess we'll keep going. When I first came through here, that place did not look very inviting. But I guess they've opened up a little bit towards people. Actually, they just didn't have money on them. They said I didn't want to bother them. Again, the trail people are saying we need 14 feet so we can get emergency vehicles in. Well, we've got gates on here that open and the posts come out, so if you need to get an ambulance in here or an ATV or something, there's room to get it in. And there's more than enough spots along the trail where it's wide enough to make a U-turn to come back out, or you just go to the next gate and come out there. Again, you don't need 14 feet for emergency vehicles. That's just ridiculous. Which leads to the next question: if the trail is so much safer than having a train come through, why would you even need emergency vehicles to come in? We get trees down here, and the work trucks seem to have no problem getting in to clear down tree trunks and things like that. So, alright, we're going to take a little detour here, head down toward the parkway. Actually get on the parkway because that would be illegal. So I'm just going to stop the bike here. I'm going to walk. So what do we have here? And I don't have the street name, but what was here had been an old gas station for servicing the cars along the parkway. Back when the parkway was built, 20s, 30s, 40s. And there was an identical station over on the other side of the parkway, which, as you can see, well, you can't see because it's all covered up with vines and things like that now. This trail has been here about 15 years, and this station is still vacant. It's probably closed up, I don't know, late 70s, early 80s maybe. This, you look at the gas station there, and the trail right there. This would be a perfect spot for a cafeteria, deli, bike shop. You need, get water, repair your tires, just like down Palmer Avenue at the old Burnmar station. But it's empty. This a couple of years ago, up until about a year ago, this was pretty much a parking lot for construction equipment, doing, I don't know, fiber optic or something, I don't know. But again, this is a perfect example of where the trail could bring business to the area, and nothing's being done with it. So again, if you want food or drinks along the way, you gotta stop at your local supermarket before you even start your day, and buy your own stuff. And that's not contributing to the local economy by doing that. So we're going to go head back to the trail. You see from the fence right here just how close that is to here. And that would be perfect for trail users, but it's not done. Even here you can see the back of the building. Unused, vacant. As a wasted opportunity. County could be getting a lot of tax money out of that, and they're not. I'm just looking at the size of the fenced off area. You could even have a parking area for the trail. It's an additional parking area off the parkway. They have similar things over on the Bronx River Parkway in Eastchester. I don't think they sell anything, but they've kind of turned them into county tourism stands. That's over by between Harney Road and Leawood Drive on the Bronx River Trail, which was not a railroad, but it does run for much of its length parallel to the Harlem line of Metro North Railroad. So I got a little bridge here where it double tracked for a bit, probably because of the station. So we're going to detour off the trail a little bit. We do have a parking area here, and in the distance we have a porta potty. That's actually, since leaving Van Cortlandt, that's the first porta potty I've seen. There'll be one more up in Woodlands, but that's it on the South County Trail. And so far on the North County, I haven't even seen any, so again, you gotta go. Good luck with the poison ivy as you go in the woods. porta potty actually used to be sitting right about here. And after a nice day of sitting in the sun, that was not a fun porta potty to use. I always say put it in the shade. Do have a bench along here, sort of an attempt to clean the place up a little, make it a little bit more hospitable. This river has been severely polluted for years and just overgrown, and it's been a mess. So we are now at the Mount Hope Cemetery, which, Mount Hope Station, which served the Mount Hope Cemetery. And if you can see in the picture, he actually had a big water tower here. And if you go around when the stuff is not so thick, you can actually kind of see the remnants of that. Although I kind of forgot where it was. You see the leftovers of when the platforms and covers and platform in there. And, sorry. Actually, that would have been a gate. Looks more like a gate coming up here. But somewhere around here you could see the leftovers of the foundation for that water tower. Now, all along here, all along this trail, there's markers all over the pavement for different mile markers. None of them line up. It seems like every time someone wants to do a measured distance, they just make up their own from whatever starting point they want, so nothing's consistent. And if they were going to do this right, they should probably start with mile 0 back in Manhattan, up around to 155th Street or so, wherever the railroad originally terminated. It'd be nice to see the trail go all the way to there, you'd have to put a bridge back up over the Harlem River. I think the area where the railroad terminated back around 155th Street, somewhere in the vicinity of where the polo grounds were and the New York Giants played baseball. It's now a housing project. But if you look at the subway system, where does the number 3 line end? Harlem 148th Street, which would probably have been where the railroad passengers would have transferred over to subway. So it's no accident that the line ends there. You see another bench over here. Some of the Sawmill River. Again, just so many trees down and strainers in it. Pick up garbage. Just don't allow the water to flow freely. Coming up here now. This is actually brand new apartments that are housing that was built, and it's nice of them to put a bridge out here so that the residents can access the trail. All this area, and you see it more further up. This was pretty much all, at one time, all chemical plants and factories, pharmaceutical manufacturing and research. Little by little, all those plants, some of them caught fire and blew up. A nice big explosion back in 1986 or so when the chemical factories blew up. Some of them, the area just didn't suit them anymore, and I guess they moved elsewhere. Or more than likely the taxes around here are just too high and they couldn't afford to stay. So they go somewhere else where the taxes are lower and they have much more land available. Got some dead chipmunks. I guess they didn't get out of the way of the bikers fast enough. So although this trail is paved, there's just a lot of spots on here. There's a bunny I almost hit. There's a lot of spots here where you can see where the trail is just cracked and buckled. There's potholes. So even though there's a big one, you see here an overpass Or it probably would have been double tracked through here. Eventually, it probably would have been for the chemical companies to service them. But even though this is only handling bicyclists and walkers, pedestrians, and not heavy car and truck traffic, there's still plenty of buckling in here and damage to the trail as the years go by. We get the weather having its freezing and thawing effects on it. So we're now at the Chauncey station, and you see one of the chemical companies there. At the time, almost looked like a steel mill. So we're at Chauncey now. We're going to be going as far as Elmsford on this section. So we can take another little detour around here when we get to this intersection. So what we got here, on the east side now, we have building here that's been turned into life, the place to be. Rock climbing, laser tag, bowling, arcade. Tried stopping in here once, but they had a private party and wouldn't let anyone in. Now over here in the distance, as long as this place has been here as life, those soda machines have been sitting out there. I don't think they're even plugged in. So again, that's one more spot where trail users could be getting drinks, including water, but not an option. Looking over here toward the parkway now, we've converted facility, GNC's, Verizon, Starbucks, New York Sports Club, and looks like they're building housing and things like that in there. Whether those were put in because the trail was here, I don't know. It would kind of make sense, but then again, those were more factories and offices, warehouses, and things like that have just been slowly closing one after another. So that's probably more an attempt to get taxes out of there than to service anyone along the trail. Going up behind there, they've been putting roads in. That whole area back there, there used to be a hiking trail. It's a really nice trail. I don't know how old it goes, but I do have a map from probably the 1950s or 60s when it was restored as an Eagle Scout project. Over the years, though, it hasn't really been maintained. And now just bits and pieces all through there between its start down in Hastings and as it continues all the way up from Hastings to Ardsley, then from Ardsley to Elmsford and Elmsford to Eastview. It's just slowly being cut out and replaced with housing and things like that. So that's a loss of a good hiking trail. So we're going to continue here now. this area here, we can see what's left of loading dock there. Again, that was another chemical company. I think that probably about 15 years ago at least, that was might have been owned by AkzoNobel. And I remember coming through here, the trail wasn't in yet. I was just going down like the dirt remnants of the rail bed. And there'd be guards there in SWAT gear, M16s and things like that, protecting the place. But again, that's all since been shut down, closed up. One more business lost here in Westchester. Now, I don't know if the trail had anything to do with that closing. Maybe having people walking along here was a liability and they decided to just up and move. I don't know. Another overpass here, wide enough for probably be double tracked as we leave Mount Hope and we start to head into Ardsley. Or I should say as we leave Chauncey and head into Ardsley. We do have a motel here. But again, that was here long before the trail came in, and that place is really not much more than a cross between drug den, brothel, and homeless shelter. Call box. Coming up here on the right, we have the Westchester House of Sports. As you look by the guardrail, there's nowhere for anyone parking here to come over and use the trail, which is probably not an accident, as they don't want their parking being used for other activities. And this building was originally about a third of the size bigger, but maybe 5 to 10 years ago, it was also vacant. And 5 to 10 years ago, they cut the end of it off, and they turned it into this field house. So plenty of parking here for themselves, but with the guardrail there, obviously they don't want you using their parking for using the trail. So we're gonna make a little detour here due to construction. We'll stop here and check it out. So we got, what do we have here? I'll just get off the walkway a little bit so bikers can get by. This was the Ashford Avenue overpass. This had originally been a grade crossing through here until the 1950s when the thruway came in, which is just beyond that, where you can see the truck coming by. That's the New York State Thruway. On the other side where the cars are passing, that's Sawmill Parkway. Where these barricades were, there had been an exit ramp and an on-ramp going up to there. Looks like they're in the process of replacing this bridge, which has slowly been rusting and crumbling away over the years. This site here is the where the Ardsley train station had been. Looks like we got 1 or 2 parking spots here for trail use. Back over there behind those trees, there is village of Ardsley. And you see more of the shops there in the background. But to get over there, well, you got the thruway in the way. You can't go up to Ashford Avenue because the staircase that had been there serving the train station, that's gone. They took that out years and years ago. So to get down there, you now have to go down this road and through some other areas if you know where you're going. On the other side of those trees, you have a Carvel and a subway, but again, from here you wouldn't even know those were there. And that was there years before the trail came in. The Carvel went in probably in the 70s when freight was still running on these tracks. So we're going to kind of continue a little bit. One of the things that had been here at one time actually in Ardsley was King Pickles, where they manufactured pickles, and that was one of the customers for the railroad. So it's probably the first staircase that's been here in at least 50 years, and that's for construction use only. And if you see where that telephone pole is there, a couple of years ago we had a big accident there. A car was drag racing, being chased by the police, heading north on the parkway. He went up the exit ramp across Ashford Avenue and kept going through the guardrail and tumbled over the side and was killed. Luckily there was no trail users under there at the time. short little stop here. So look out to the right. It's the New York State Thruway. You can see the cars going by. On the other side of that is Macy Park, which is pretty much now just soccer fields and things like that. At one time before the Thruway came in, that park was much larger and extended further to the north. Northern section is still there. We'll pass that in a minute. But you can no longer access the two sections by foot because the Thruway has basically sliced them in half. And you can't walk between the two anymore. So where we're riding now is where, kind of like where the two sections of the park connected. We've got a nice trestle coming up here, probably one of the finest on the entire railroad. And when we stop, you might be able to see it from below. You don't see much from above, but we're about to go over it right now. Here to the left, if you can sort of see in the distance, is a dam over here at Woodlands Lake. You can see a little bit of water going over it. That's Woodlands Lake and the Sawmill River, excuse me. So we're now arriving at Woodlands Lake. This is the northern section of Macy Park. I'm going to take a little tour through here. Over near here, as you can see, it would have been the Woodlands Station. Pretty much opposite of Safer Road on Route 9A. And you can get a view there of also what the dam looks like from below, when the trees are cleared, and the old station. So right now we're crossing over the dam. If you look down below, you can sort of see where the water's coming through. Nice spot for fishing. On the north side of this here now, We have Woodlands Lake. Back in the early 80s, this is where I learned ice skating, and this was actually froze up then, back then, since about 1983 or so. The water hasn't been solid enough for ice to form, and there's been no skating here since. Personally, I don't blame global warming for it. I blame all the pollution in the water for changing the freezing point of it. Continue along here a little bit. Show you some other stuff here. Up here in the distance was Cantina Mexican restaurant for a while, up until probably closed about the time the trail opened, and it's been sitting vacant ever since. This would be a perfect spot for food and concessions and things like that for trail users and people in the park. When it had been open and there was skating here, they'd have a bonfire here, and the restaurant would be serving hot chocolate to the skaters. But for at least the past 15-20 years now, that's been vacant and slowly crumbling. Now, the interesting thing about that was, I found online that August of last year, Westchester County submitted an RFP for it, a request for proposals, to have somebody come in and reopen the restaurant. But now, almost a year later, there's still no construction equipment there, and it doesn't really look like anyone's taking advantage of it. So, you can see up ahead here we have the only other porta potty along the South County Trail. We have some stairs there going up to the restaurant. It's actually a really nice spot. Maybe as we go back to the trail, we'll take a ride up there, take a look. Some picnic tables and things like that. Now up here we have the Great Hunger Memorial, memorializing the Irish famine in the 1840s. Not quite sure what that has to do with this park, but they put that here. This whole area originally had been another parking lot. When the railroad was being scrapped in the late 90s to build the trail, this was all fenced in, and all the leftovers from the railroad, all the rail and everything was all stacked here before it got scrapped. So we have no swimming, no skating. Really never seen anyone boating. I don't even know if it's open for boating. So this had been the Cantina restaurant. It's actually a really nice building. Would be perfect for trail use. Actually, these facilities went back years ago, were installed years ago. And all this, there had been a hotel here at the time, back in the 1920s. And there'd be festivals and all kinds of stuff here at the time, but not anymore. Building closed to public. Even just to open this little shed here, sell concessions to the bikers and things like that. Nope. This is where you exit the park onto back onto Sawmill Parkway. Now there's a guardrail and a sign there, right turn only. That probably went in about 85 or so. Maybe a little bit earlier. Prior to that, that guardrail had been open and you could make left turns. But that was tough because you had traffic coming both ways and you had to find an open spot and race through it. One of the interesting things about this lake and this whole area was back in the 1800s. This was all owned by J.P. Morgan, the banker. And this particular lake, when it froze up, would be used for harvesting ice for ice houses and refrigeration down in the city. And this was probably one of the major ice supplies for the city at the time. Cut the blocks out, ship them down to the city by railroad. So I'm going to head back, join up with the trail again on the railroad. Actually, if you take a close look here, this, the pathway actually deviates from the railroad. Where the all the overgrowth is, the railroad would have kept going. You'd see how the rail, where it comes along, it would have kept going straight. Instead, here it kind of veers off to the left a little bit to give users a better view of the lake as they come through. You'll see that up ahead. And that would not have been a double track here. So there just wasn't the demand for it. It's just more of a whistle stop. So we look off to the left here, we have the lake and the current trail. Up there inside all the bushes, you can, when it's clear, you can see the embankment there for the roadbed and things like that. So probably about 30, 40 feet from where we're standing now is where the tracks actually would have run. But when the county built the trail, they diverted it a little so people could have a better view of the lake. They didn't have to, but they did. Now up in Ulster County, trail people are saying, oh no, we can't deviate from the railroad right away to give people a better view of the reservoir. We have to stay right on the railroad and take those rails up. Well, here's an area where a different county decided, yeah, we're going to deviate. We don't have to stick with the exact location of the railroad. We'll move it a little bit, and there's a couple other spots along the trail where they do the same thing. A few minutes ago I had mentioned that the county had issued an RFP, request for proposal, for that restaurant for a new owner. One of the very interesting things that I saw in that one that I didn't see in the railroad RFP that Ulster County submitted, although I may have missed it, but Westchester County had a little clause in there saying county employees and their families and everything like that are prohibited from entering bids or being affiliated with anyone entering a bid on the property. Nice little ethics clause there. I'd like to see Ulster County put that in their RFP when it comes to building the trail, so that no county employees, paid or unpaid, can have any involvement in the building of the trail or deciding anything related to it. Likewise, prohibiting anyone involved with putting a trail in from being an employee, paid or unpaid, of Ulster County. But I don't think Ulster County has evolved to that level of ethics yet. We're going to take a little ride up this hill as we meet up with the railroad once again. I'll just take a look back so you can see what I was talking about. Now if you go straight ahead, that's where the railroad went, right through that little cut in the trees. The current trail deviates off to the right so you can have a view of the lake. So yes, it is possible to deviate a trail from the original railroad right away, despite people up in Ulster County saying, oh, it's impossible to do that. We just can't deviate. It has to be on the trail itself, and we have to rip the rails up for that. Bunch of nonsense. So actually right along here, we have a trail that goes into the woods, and this continues. There's a couple trails there that go back over to where the Great Hunger Memorial was, although the county doesn't seem to maintain them all that well. They're kind of overgrown and muddy. And we got another call box because the trail is just so safe. Section here where they had to repave. So right now we're at the Worthington station. The section was named after Henry Rossiter Worthington, who is the inventor of the Worthington pumps. We also have nearby here on the other side of the parkway, Cyrus Field Road, named for Cyrus Field, who was responsible for the transatlantic telegraph. And if these trains were still running, I'd probably be coming either to here, Worthington, or to Woodlands to pick the train up into Manhattan. So we're now passing underneath the New York State Thruway. And this is the last time we'll see the Thruway on this trail. We're going to continue north. The Thruway is going to veer northwest as it approaches the Tappan Zee Bridge. Now we got another slight detour here. Trains probably went straight. We're going to curve a little bit to the left here. And in a minute you'll see why the detour. Right now we are passing this little overpass is an off-ramp from the Thruway onto the Sawmill Parkway. This would not have been here when trains were running. They would have come along there, more of a straight line through there, and met up. This actually, if you keep going on that, that's sort of an unofficial access way to the Sawmill River Road, Route 9A. And we continue north. Up ahead through here, probably the next half mile, mile or so, we get to some pretty rough road. You can see a lot of spots where there's blacktop's been added as a patch. You can see all the other cracks as well. Again, no cars or trucks along here, just normal wear and tear from the weather. And you can see what it's going to be involved with maintaining the trail along the Route 28 corridor in Ulster County. This is Westchester. They got money for it. Ulster County doesn't have money. Nice pothole there. Here we go. It's going to be tough to see through those woods there. But over in that distance is the Elmsford Little League Park. As you can see coming along here, nowhere here is there any trails coming off of this trail to access the Little League Park, so that maybe while the kids are playing Little League, Mom and Dad can come over here and go for a walk, work off some stress instead of yelling at the umpires all the time. Let little Johnny play his baseball and parents get some exercise. But nope, no access roads for that. And just past here now, another interesting that's coming up, there's a way off in the distance is there had been an office complex there that closed recently, and it's been converted into a sort of a maintenance facility for Mercedes-Benz. New cars come from the factories. They go there, they clean them up, take all the protective coatings off them and everything, and finish them up before sending them off to the dealers for sale. That would be a perfect business for the railroad if that was open for freight. Take a spur off of here, bring it to there. You bring all the cars in by rail from the factories. You don't have to truck them along Route 9A, which is a miserable road for truck traffic. Very narrow, very windy. Just past there you have an auto body, which is pretty much takes up all the whole shoulder. You can't get by there at all some days. If you brought those cars in by rail, that would be a perfect opportunity for them. Unfortunately, the rail's not here anymore. So now we're going to be approaching Elmsford. It's another area where the railroad started to get much more industrial. A lot of warehouses and things like that along here. And you can just see by the placement of the buildings that all these buildings were here before, when the railroad was in use. And some of them do have loading docks on the back, which would have been serviced by the railroad for freight. So as we come into Elmsford, we got a little bit of a picnic area here, a rest area, put in by the village, but unfortunately there's no parking here. This road here, Fiore Way or Place, is a private road, and as you look all along here, no trespassing, tenant use only, so they don't want you coming here to park your cars to use the trail. And even with pedestrians here, there's still more than enough room to pass. You don't need 14 feet of trail. Coming up ahead here now on the right, see Casolato Restaurant. Previously this had been Tony's Station restaurant station, and prior to that this was the Elmsford train station for passenger service. And I suppose we could take a walk around to take a look at it from the front. So we'll just ride around. So we're now at the end of the South County Trail, but more about that in a second. Normally I wouldn't ride on the sidewalk, but the traffic here is just so bad that you can't help it. Be on the sidewalk. And you can see this is the restaurant which used to be the Elmsford train station. A little tough to see with the dark out, but and turn around and head back. Actually, in the distance there, where you can see the cars braked up, that's where the body shop is, and where the road gets really wide, is it's tough to get truck traffic through there, which is why a spur off the railroad to service Mercedes-Benz would be a great idea if the railroad was still open. So where we are now, this is the end of the South County Trail. This is Route 119 Tarrytown Road in Elmsford. This had been the rail crossing at one time. I still remember freight trains coming through here back around 1980, just before all freight service shut down completely. But you could still, for many years after that, the tracks were still here going across 119, and even the crossing gates were still here with their lights. As you can see, you go across there now, what do you got? You got a stone wall, you got buildings. And this was basically what Rails to Trails was intended to prevent. This was not the railroad here, this was a parking lot. And that was not the railroad. But again, all this, you now have buildings and things where the railroad would have been. The trail itself kind of ends here. To continue on to the North County Trail, which is still part of the Putnam Railroad, you now have to go over Sawmill River Road and take your chances going up that, back to past the warehouses and things like that, and then over by around Beaver Hill. You can get back into where the trail picks up again. But as you look around, there's not a whole lot of business here on account of the trail. You're in downtown Elmsford. Yeah, you got a deli, there's a CVS, saloon, but that's about it. I don't think any of these things were put in because the trail went in. Most of these were here before the trail opened. Couple of restaurants again, but again, these weren't open because of the trail being here. This stuff was here. So, as we conclude this section of the Putnam Railroad and the South County Trail, tell me now, what businesses have you seen along here that have really sprung up because of the trail being here? None. The businesses that were here were either here originally, or they're not here because of the trail. We got a couple businesses that we saw that were locations that would be perfect for business had the trail if they stayed open, but after the trail came in, they shut down. The Burn Mar Deli at Tuckahoe Road, that gas station along the way, Cantina Restaurant at Woodlands. All those places could have been generating a lot of tax money, but they closed down. So the claim that whoever came up with the idea that by putting a trail in, we're going to turn everything along it into Shangri-La, we're going to have businesses everywhere. Sorry, but I don't see that here. And this is Westchester. There's a lot of people here. And this is not generating money for the local economy. Actually costs money because the county has to maintain this, and that's not coming. There's no tolls or anything to access it. This is free, so that all that maintenance money that's coming out of taxpayer dollars, whether it be directly from the county or through grants, it still came out of the taxpayer money. So we're going to end this here, and we'll pick up again another day on the North County Trail. Actually, we'll pick up from here, and we'll try to find the North County Trail. All right, have a good day.